I do worry about contracts in general, because if you believe that you are justified in breaking a contract because your religion allows you to, then what's to stop you, Kunari?
Oh, contracts won't stop us. We break contracts all the time. You really shouldn't have a Kunari sign a contract.
Which is why the Kunari needs to be held to a better standard.
You're not making very good arguments, the Queen of Ventiva says, looking at the Arakun Pasha. But you mention changes to the Kun, the Queen of Ventiva says. I'm curious as to what these changes are.
Can I also just say the empathy thing that Dethan did with the Queen of Antiva and Pasha. Pasha is feeling very confident, very calm, and she is... I don't know if you can feel a thought or something like that, but basically Pasha's thought is no more harm. No more harm. That's all she's, just like, no, we're gonna get this nice and settled.
The Queen is feeling a lot of skepticism and a lot of, we've been down this road before. We have, not just her, but other rulers of Antiva have attempted to negotiate with the Kinari, and broken contract after broken contract later, she's like, how is this any different than before? Do you take me for a fool? Kind of thing.
The Queen asked, what are the changes that
Correct.
Pasha is?
What are the changes that you're proposing?
The Kun has a certain doctrine, the way of blades. It is the way of warfare, to conquer and control effectively. Yet time and time again, we have seen that the way of blades is unsuccessful. It is conflict for conflict's sake. It gets us nowhere and it only does us harm. And not just in the death toll. When we were in need of aid and we asked for it, who came besides Maximilian asking for something in return? Which we were grateful for, but water to save your life in exchange for explosives, it's a little bit, the way of blades is not the way forward. We must go down the gentle paths. Those are the routes we must follow. And the Kunari, we need to evolve. We need to change. I intend on seeing that change.
Does that involve honoring your agreements? Because the way I see it, if you guys aren't beholden to any contract or trades we agree here, then what's the point?
Then I think it's important we set up parameters, as has been discussed by me and the rest of the Penta'viv, and my fellow, to be frank, gods. There needs to be a recourse if this isn't followed this time. What I propose is that we set up equal terms of trade reparations that each of you can decide to one another, and then we give Pasha her chance as Arakun to properly reform the Kun and change its ways. Should the Kun break these alliances, setups, doesn't follow the teachings that Pasha has, I will invoke my ability as God of Destruction to bring an end to the fight on both sides.
What does that mean? It's on both sides?
Meaning I will stop the fight and the Kun will be destroyed.
The Arashak says, define Kun will be destroyed.
Meaning if the Kun proves that it's incapable of learning to be diplomatic and accepting of other worldviews and ideologies, then the Kun will...
empathetic.
Exactly. If the Kun refuses to ambassadate with the rest of the world, then the Kun denies being with the rest of the world. And I would also stent that Pasha very temporarily be Arakun, as a god being in charge of a nation-state could cause hostilities.
The Aragena says, if the Kun demands for for our Arakune to remain Arakune, then she shall remain the Arakune.
Yes, but you see how that can cause problems when you stare at a more powerful position than everyone else around you. I mean, look at what me and Dartham did to you in the middle of your war.
Pasha will say, I will be Arakune for as long as I believe I am needed. Not a day longer, not a day less.
And I'm saying we can't leave that up to your personal opinion, so we need to set a mandate.
So be it.
Do any of you gods have the ability to make a binding agreement? Like, can you use your powers to connect it? I mean, beyond just the people here, but we're talking about nations. So you could keep the people to their word, the people die, and then, but could you use your powers in a useful way and make it a binding treaty?
Out of character, Hark, I feel like I, as the god of diplomacy, could be like, I promise as god, these are the terms laid out. If it's broken, I have to broker what's in writing.
If you believe that that falls under your domain, then you could probably do a quote-unquote unbreakable vow, quote-unquote. Like, you must adhere to these, or otherwise something very bad happens to you. It doesn't have to be death, but it could be something along those lines.
Would also pipe up and say, and assuming we would be able to make such contract, imagine I'd be able to ensure that if it were broken, all recipients would instantly know it was broken and who the guilty party was. So that way there is no confusion there.
And I, as the god of diplomacy and under the title of Resolute, meaning that this judgment would be final, everyone would know the terms and I'd be binded to it.
I would want Theo to draft it up. He's so smart. Just
I can agree to that, Jody says.
Theo can agree to that.
Pasha will look over to the Aragena and the Arashok to see if they nod or shake their heads.
The Arashok is the one that seems to be the most resilient or the most hesitant about this whole thing, but he does not refute. And the Aragena, who seems to have been on the fence back and forth, she says, on the surface, this sounds like a proper negotiation. I definitely would like to hear more from our Arakune about her thoughts of our people moving forward.
Moving forward, for the time being, we cease forced conversion. That is, we can't be doing that anymore. Sending out emissaries to peacefully spread the word of the Cune, maybe in time. For right now, we cease that. We return to Saharon. We focus on building from the ground up.
Willing converts.
As I said,
Simple
sending people to speak about the Cune, perfectly fine if other countries give us permission. If not, we remain on our island. We live there. The Vidath Bas, that has to cease. Just let them leave. Just let them go. We can't cling on to people. It only makes them want to leave more. We need to learn kindness.
All of that is rightfully under your realm and domain, Arakune. Myself and the Arashok have no problem with that. And the Arashok will nod, because technically that is part of the religion is, Arakune is all about your religion, so if you're like, we're gonna stop the conversion, the Arashok and Aragena have nothing to say about that. That's really up to you.
In that case, the Cune will agree to this agreement.
How exactly are we going to then address the obvious lack of water for our people then? What is going to happen?
Pasha will look over at Andrea.
Old Televashoth will be free to go.
Absolutely.
If it's not a problem, I, as a domain of freedom, will oversee. If will note any of those who are willing to leave for discrepancy. If that's not a problem, Arakune.
Absolutely.
I would want some assurances for all of the Guardians, so long as we're doing our duty, that we have free movement and no one will get in our way. And then I can go to your country and provide water and leave without being put in chains.
As God of Protection, I can assure you, you will not come to any harm on Saharan soil or on Parvalin.
The Aragena says, as long as you hold your end of the deal, we will do so as well.
Perhaps we should ensure it gets in the contract.
As if broken, it becomes all 5 of our problems.
I agree.
The Queen of Antiva then says, so what are the other terms? What exactly type of reparations are we talking about here in our cities, in our vineyards, in the people whose families they have lost?
Before leaving, the Qun can use our workers to repair buildings that have been destroyed, roads that have been blown up. We would offer food in time, however, we can't really grow our own food currently because we have no water. So we can give you an IOU on grapes, but aside from that, repairing anything caused by our damage.
If it is acceptable by our queen here, I could temporarily relocate to the Qun lands to assist in that matter.
That would be excellent, the Aragena says. And the Queen Antiva says, as long as you agree to give us at least a boost on the vineyards here before you leave.
Agreed.
Theo, are we going on tour together?
Hell yeah!
Park,
When was the last time we went anywhere together?
Oh, this is
can
gonna
I-
be fun.
Park, question. Can I sense, since I am sort of on the domain of healers, and also maybe like, can I try to like get a sense of like how many families have been lost to this? Like, a lot of them, or have they also been able to be recovered from the injuries?
So, yes, the ones that did not die by the time you got there, many of them have recovered, or at least are in the process of recovering.
Yeah.
Fortunately, the number of casualties were lessened due to the fact that Andrea was very quick to respond, and she was able to inform the right people to evacuate the city of most of the non-combative people. Obviously, you're always going to have some stragglers,
Yeah.
or people who are just stubborn and it's like, I'm not leaving my house, I'm going to stay here. And some of them, unfortunately, didn't survive because of that. But yeah, the number of casualties is not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah. As far as I've sensed, all the casualties of families and soldiers have been reduced thanks to our help. Those who have been injured are being overlooked by the healers. Some have been lost, understandable as it is. But those who have lost their friends will recover, hopefully by the healing graces we have.
I have one extra proposal. While we can't give money or much of anything for the lives that have been lost, what can be done for the nation states as it sits is that the Qun be allowed free priestesshood through the Ben Hasraf to Antiva, Ravane, and the other nations to conduct its business purposefully and act in the same trading and diplomatic way as everyone else. But in return, the Qun will have to pay a little bit extra to keep that right, and that they should have to share their Gatlock and airship technology with everyone else.
Wait, are you saying they should be allowed to spread the Qun through freely?
I'm saying they should have priesthood like everyone else does.
So, in that case, I would assume that the Qun lands would have to be open to opening chantries up, correct?
That would be correct. Both would open to each other.
The freedom to practice one's own religion and choice. But
Though if the Qun shares its technology, you gain that right in your lands. They have to give up more to the Qun to have that same right there. You get what you give.
That makes sense, Aragana says. It seems like the group overall has come to an agreement and have agreed to the terms. And are we doing an unbreakable vow kind of thing then, Russo?
Yep, I already laid it on the table, so we're gonna have a contract where it's like, if you break these terms, I'm allowed to come as a god and smite you.
And who is involved? Just the leaders, or are the PCs already also being involved as well? Yes?
I'm involved
Yep.
as the god of freedom. I essentially will overlook any, essentially free speech, free religion, and all that. Anything happens, yeah.
And I'm involved as God of Empathy. My basic thing is, if the contract were to ever be broken by a party, then the empathy effect would be able to tell every party who broke it and give them ample warning so that everybody knows what's going on.
Okay. Sounds good to me. All right. You complete your negotiations. I'd like to feel that everyone has a little bit more optimism versus when you first came into the room. And as much as you are willing to allow for it, I would think that many of you have at least have a belief that the people who are agreeing to this treaty intends on keeping it. So, cool. All right, so that's the end of that scene.
I'm gonna say I wait for the room to settle and I see the other Guardians there. Would it be safe to say that Violetta did come with us to Ravane and everything and has Balin?
Sure.
Dear, could you go get the four ready to stay here? I need to bring Corin to them.
Oh, I see. We've come to that.
And feel free to leave Balin in another room.
Of course. He's been non-stop talking ever since I found him about how things were going in the Fade, and I told him to wait until your father tells you. I think that's something that you would be interested in telling him, not me.
Yeah, it's a little hard to break to your kid that you're a god now.
I think he'll be very excited, personally. Well, good luck with Corin. What are you hoping the outcome will be?
I'm gonna talk with him and see what he thinks he deserves, and then whatever fate decides for him here, that's what happens.
Violetta will do as you say, and then I guess you told her that you wanted her to gather the other four?
Yeah.
Okay. And while she's doing that, you wanted Corin?
I was gonna go get Corin from the Golden City and then bring him back here.
You'll go to the Golden City, and Corin is... I think he's right now just wandering around the palace, just taking it all in. And when you arrive, he'll look towards your direction and he says, "Oh, so you've come for me at last."
Yes, brother, I'm afraid the time's finally come.
Why can't I just stay here? I'm not going to be a bother to anyone. I'm not going to be a threat to any of Thedas if I just stay here in the Golden City. I could be your, I don't know, assistant, I suppose I could feed you. Do you eat as a god?
I really don't know. Court's still open on that one.
If they all they want is to get rid of me, then they have it. I'm here at the Golden City. Why do we have to complicate things anymore?
Because I think you deserve the chance to speak for yourself and let everyone else get resolution. If they decide for you to live here in the Golden City till you become a spirit, then that's up to them.
So you're asking me to follow you knowing that there is a risk that I might be executed.
I'm asking you to stand and face what you did. I faced them myself. I was about just as guilty as you in that situation.
What were your domains again?
Law, diplomacy, and destruction.
All right. So you think that it is in my best interest to go to them and answer for my past, even if it was a long time ago.
And explain your situation, what pushed you to it, and understand that they do have the right to hold some judgment for it.
Including executing me.
Possibly.
That's not a very convincing argument, Rousseau.
I'm not here to convince you.
What if I told you I want to stay?
Then I'll call you the man-child that you're acting like right now and teleport you there.
I see, you're going to force me. You're going to guilt me into it.
I'm not guilting you, but if you can't speak for yourself, then you don't have a right to this city.
Very well. Take me to wherever it is you believe I need to be taken.
Okay. Grab my hands.
He'll grab your hand.
And then I'll just kind of poof back in the room. Well, here he is as promised.
Corin's there, and I mean, the Guardians know who he is, as in, like, what his significance is. And he's just kind of, remaining as stoic as he can, although the god of empathy can probably tell that he is anxious, very anxious.
I assume you know why you're here.
My brother informed me.
So, please, speak. Why?
I'm not going to waste your time. I was instructed to do a job. I was in need of putting food on the table, so I took whatever jobs I could. I didn't have any personal vendetta against them. I was just trying to survive. Do I think that excuses my actions? No. I did it. It was a long time ago. Am I sorry that I did it? If you were to ask me before I met... If you were to ask me before I met my nephew, I would have told you no. Afterwards, though, I've been biased. That probably will make your decision very easy at this point. Whatever it is that you wish to do with me, go ahead and do it.
I say we turn him over to Kirkwell's courts. That's me.
He'd have to be turned over to Navarra. That's where it happened.
Fine. It's not my business. I don't know what you think.
If you were to ask me personally, me and my brother both got ruined by the Blight. That's no real excuse for anything. I do think it's important to realize intentions.
Double homicide, Rousseau. Double homicide.
I'm not trying to justify. I'm explaining. Ultimately, the life I led after that event was drastically different than his. Like you say, he wasn't sorry of it, but he still did good with the remainder of his life up till here. He commanded the Grey Wardens, and he helped end the Blights permanently. I don't know if that factors much to you, but as far as I see it, if it took him seeing what he did to change, then any punishment will do.
Is that what you want? To do good? To make up for what you did? Is that it? Is that what this is?
I just want to be... What I want is to be better than my parents. And I couldn't even do that.
Could I like bump Daritham and be like, is he being sincere?
I mean,
Dartham, you feel that Corin, he's a sleazeball, but at the same time, like, he tries to act tough and he tries to act like he doesn't care, but he does, because he's kind of jealous of Rousseau in many ways. So it's one of those. I kind of see a lot of, in Marvel Universe, I kind of see a lot of Loki in him, because he's not a good guy, but maybe some of it was because he was jealous of his brother. You know, it's that kind of thing. Is he redeemable? As redeemable as Loki is from the Marvel Universe is redeemable. So that's the best way I can describe it.
in response, Dartham will go ahead and share the empathy there. He'll also go ahead and share some of what the Guardians and Rousseau are feeling towards Corin, so Corin can kind of feel their perspective. So you all feel that, and Corin feels whatever you're feeling.
So, okay, you brought us here, are you expecting us to preside judgment over him because of what he's done? Do you think, is that what you're expecting us? I mean,
Can I suggest that the Guardians want time by themselves to discuss with this?
I was told that he needed to answer for what he did, and that's why I've brought him here. The choice isn't mine. He hurt your souls more than mine.
That was when they were with Cedric and May. They said that they would bring him so we could discuss it. But I don't know.
If I'm to be honest, fate has a funny way of working things out. I am barely better than you are. I fight for my family, as you yours. And to be blatantly honest, now that I see you, and I mean really see you, the chant speaks of forgiveness.
What do you want me to do?
I don't speak for all of us, but as long as you continue to do good and to do right by others, maybe you will get others forgiveness for sins of the past. If you change more lives for the better than negatively affect them, perhaps, I don't know. I guess that's all I can offer. Just for you to change as many lives for the better, to the best of your ability.
Very well. If that is your decision, I hope you don't regret it.
Even if I do, it is my decision.
In that case, I will report back to the wardens.
I want to turn to Andrea just behind my hand, go, I didn't really want to break up the tense moment, but I have no clue who that guy is.
He's the one who killed Aveline and her husband.
Gotcha. You had no idea that entire scene.
Oh my god.
What, out of character, if people asked Theobin what he thinks we should do with this random person that he doesn't know, what he would have said,
he would have
executed.
Yeah.
Execute
Oh
him.
well, I mean, his sins are grave, real grave.
There's no coming back from that.
No.
You know what he did,
Yeah.
which I know that he did.
That we don't need to talk about it, but he did it.
Yeah. Ooh. Nope. Okay. I think as Corin is leaving, he's going to turn to Rousseau, and he's going to say, I'm going to say this once, Rousseau. You were always better than I was. I recognize that you're always better than I was. And no matter what I do, I will never be better or even meet the man that you are. I know that.
Corin, that's probably your problem right there. You don't need to be better than me. You don't need to follow me or be better than mom and dad. You need to be you.
Yes, well, it's easy for you to say. What if you don't like yourself?
I hated myself for a long time. And I can say the only thing you can do is reason why you hate yourself and don't let that be you anymore. Well, virtually everything other than breathing is, brother.
I'm not expecting you to say yes, Rousseau, but if your son ever ends up near the walls of Weishaupt, it would be nice for him to drop by.
When he gets a little bit older, maybe, but I don't think it'll work at his current age.
When he gets older, I want to tell him.
Sure.
No. I'm not sure of pretty much anything nowadays. I'm a dead man walking. I shouldn't even be alive right now.
Alright. When he gets a little bit older, I'll bring him to you. But, I don't think there's any real expectation on how Balin acts, because it's gonna be hard, no matter what.
I know. Suppose it's the least I can do. Thank you, Kevin. Sorry.
Just don't die in your joining again.
Rumor has it that there might be a cure to the taint.
Rumor has it.
Yeah.
If such a thing can be distributed to amongst all of the Grey Wardens, if they wish it.
Ideally.
That's their choice, not ours.
Good. I don't want it.
Well, as they got our freedom, that is your choice, and that is yours that you want.
He will give his brother a pat on the back, and if there's nothing else, he is going to leave for the Enderfells. Yes.
There is just one thing. Maybe as he goes, he turns and meets Dartham's eyes for just a little bit. And Dartham empathically shares with Corin his own memories. Just the feelings of them. The hopelessness of being under the taint. The hatred and anger after awakening. The self-hatred and the remorse. The feeling of inevitability. And then eventually the moment when he finds the cure and realizes he can stand back up.
Nice. That will definitely seem to have an effect on him. Also out of character, Callista pointed out, did you actually cure him of the taint?
He was cured of his taint because he was in the Golden City.
He mentioned the entirety of the Golden City was cured of taint. So
he'd have to go rejoin and risk dying again.
Yeah.
Right.
Is it the dark spawn? At least or are they still around, the dark spawn? Because I thought
they're still around.
There's still tainted dark spawn.
Okay, yeah, the Golden City got
we gotta develop the cure first for mass production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought
okay, good to know.
The dark spawns were like destroyed since the Golden City was taken, but no, it was the taint removed in the Golden City. My bad. Anyway.
Right. So he probably will still, if he's going to rejoin the Grey Wardens, he probably needs to retain himself anyway. So, okay.
Yeah, he'll get that empathic feelings shared just as he meets Dartham's eyes. No words said.
He doesn't send any words back, but you see something in his eyes that suggests that it affected him in some way. Hopefully for the better. Cool.
As Korn walks out, on a similar note, so I've been cured, as far as I'm aware. As I told Andrea, I was able to turn her prototype cure into a actual cure. There's only the one vial, so we're not sure if it's mass producible yet. And in terms of the Awakened, I and the rest of our group, in fact, encouraged Balm to have the Awakened help in this endeavor.
Yeah, thanks for the heads up, by the way.
There were a few wannabe gods we had to deal with at the time, and you were
Yeah.
indisposed fighting Kunari.
Plus, we had to borrow Violetta and her bracer even get into the Golden City.
Yep.
It would have been difficult without it.
Well, what's done is done, but there will be fallout, as you well know.
Oh, there's already a lot going on, but whatever.
I will do what I can to try to mitigate that. Speak with Rozakale and see if we can get that cure underway. If you want to help with the R&D, Andrea.
Yes, I would very much like to assist on that.
Do not forget my assistance there to my, freedom. Well, Darkspawn do need it. I'll
Indeed.
assess with the matter.
And then ideally, we can figure out some sort of system to start, not rounding up, but at least gathering the unawakened in the deep roads. Probably the Dwarves' assistants could help with that, in rounding them up and curing them once we have a workable cure.
Well, you'd have to convince King Kine. Or one of us would. I mentioned the Awakened to him briefly before I set out here. He was unapproving of their exposure, but as I say, there is nothing we can do now. But you will need his buy-in if you insist on the dwarves helping.
It wouldn't be a requirement, but it would greatly help matters.
Well, if you wanted to get the dwarves' assistance, yeah, it would be a requirement.
Oh, no, I mean, we wouldn't necessarily need the dwarves' assistance.
Ah.
But having it would greatly help matters. Not to mention, the more Darkspawn we clear out, the more ties we can easily reclaim for you.
I'm not going to attempt to deny the assistance that the Awakened Darkspawn have been to the dwarves, and us to them in kind. I'm just conscious about doing this delicately. You know that the dwarven people have a long history with Darkspawn, and whilst it's easy for us all to sit here and say that that's all in the past, it is for your people's safety as well as ours that we make sure that any fallout is contained.
I agree. It is in the past, but I lived it. No, it still lives today.
I'm sure we can work together on that.
I think the only thing we had left for the Guardians was just
Tyrion's
Kevin.
thing.
Well, yeah, Tyrion with Tevinter and Kenna. Then we have Kevin and Pyrus, essentially.
Oh, and also me and Cedric for a separate thing.
Yeah.
There's a few individual Guardian things, but I think Tyrion wants to do all Guardian thing.
I think all Guardians, since this will probably fit Tevinter, and it's specific Kenna, but I think everyone still, since they might have a match or Tevinter, I don't know. I mean, I don't know, inciting Tevinter is mean business.
Dareth would go up to Cedric. Sir Ashwood?
Hello?
I have a theory. It relates to the mutual problem we dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
I am a saint being, whatever you want to call it, of disease, among other things. I think I might be able to help you with your addiction.
I appreciate it. However, I don't really know what you mean. In that, I don't really know how you would do that.
Me neither. I've been this way
That
for
worries
about
me.
a few hours at this point.
Mm. Mhm.
I do not intend to wave my fingers and then suddenly, boof, you're cured and there's no more addiction for Templars, but I wanted to bring it to you as I attempted to at least get a sense of it, and it does feel different, but in some way similar to the cure that I made. It's a similar energy that I deal with.
I appreciate where you're coming from, and that's very true. um,
And Darthan would kind of say, it is less. Well, it is not just you that I would want to help with this, of course. The whole issue in its entirety, I would want to, if I could, address. And whether you wish to wait until it was proven to be tested or help with initial testing, either way, I wanted to bring it to you as I accepted what would happen to me when I took the cure, and I'm quite positive you did as well when you took your oaths. Am I mistaken?
no. Thankfully, I was warned.
As was I.
And since then, I give the same warning to everyone who takes an oath while I'm present. We all made our choice. However, if you think, or if it is your wish to test this, perhaps I would be the better choice for you to test it on than another. While I respect your powers, and I am sure they are great and mighty, as you said, you only just learn them.
It's all mostly intuitive learning at this point.
Hmm.
Thankfully, it's of a realm that I am somewhat free being form.
And I again, I have no reason to slight your abilities, none in the slightest. However, this is unknown magic, and
Mm-hmm.
and then he starts ranting on like why he's like terrified, and like it's kind of, but you also get like a huge sense of like paranoia. Like he'll slowly
Mhm.
like slip in like, what if you're trying to kill me? And then he'll like shake it off, and
And I think
Uh,
about halfway through that, as we go into more of the paranoia stuff, the whole time, Dartham just has a small smile on his face, like one of just understanding. And about halfway through, Cedric will start to feel a very, compared to before, a very gentle, just slow, like other filter, kind of showing Dartham's feelings with the magic, but then also will somewhat shamelessly, possibly manipulate in this way, show the hope Dartham had with Darren afterwards, once he was cured. And we'll just generally won't try to like force or manipulate, but we'll just show what went through his mind when he both accepted it and then realized he wasn't damned by it anymore. And just present it as honestly as his emotional magic can.
I'm sorry, I must digress. How about, since you've only just come into these powers, we take a little bit of time for them to develop?
I agree.
I'm sure you have all the time in the world.
Quite literally, yes, we have eternity.
Mm-hmm. If anything, I am the better candidate, because if something does go wrong and I die, I just come back. I mean, not as me, but you know.
A morbid but accurate way to look at it, I suppose.
So let's just give it time. But I thank you for your offer.
It still remains, should you wish to take it in the future.
Calpurnia, in addition to trying to keep the peace and trying to maintain some order, you can probably bet that the assassination attempts on her has increased as well. So one thing I wanted to ask Andrea is there probably were some people who wanted to start a contract with the crows to assassinate Calpurnia, but I think before they sign such contract, Lessif will probably inform you of this, Andrea, and she just wants to know if you care or not.
No.
You don't care?
It's not my business.
Okay. Not your business? Okay.
Hey, they do their own business.
It's Tevinter? Fuck it, I don't give a shit.
I love Tevinter, but that's part of Tevinter. Everybody's always killing everybody. This is
Everyone's just killing everyone.
Andrea's like, you got to put food on the table for your kids. Yeah, go ahead. Sign the contract.
If you don't take this contract, someone else will. It's a huge, the money would be huge to kill an empress. So go for it.
I'm going to say, Kenna, can you describe for us some sort of cinematic scene where Kenna happened to be with Calpurnia when somebody tried to make one of these assassination attempts? Oh. Can you tell us what happened and how did you personally save the Calpurnia from being assassinated?
Well, let me tell you. Okay, so we're probably out in the gardens, I'd imagine, having a discussion. Poor girl is telling me all her problems.
Right, she's telling you about what happened with Tyrion, and so you probably have something to say to him maybe the next time you see him. So
you could let her also.
He shows you the wanted. He shows you the wanted poster with Tyrion's face like not a flattering. Yeah, basically that.
Oh no!
There's an image on a Discord somewhere. He's just and just went.
Yeah, we have an image of his mugshot.
So she's looking at the poster, and then I imagine it's coming from someone behind. I'm gonna say maybe like a poisoned arrow or something, and you hear that whistling noise, and so she'll create sort of like an aether pocket behind Calpurnia, and the arrow gets disintegrated before it even touches her. And then she'll look to the person who shot the arrow and probably sort of create a light to sort of blind around their eyes while the guards come in so they can't sort of escape and dash into the shadows, and she'll sort of stick into them. But that's how she would have defended Calpurnia.
When that happens, Calpurnia turns around and when she sees, she's able to see just in time as you stop the poison dart, and then she just sighs. Is it Tuesday again?
I'm thinking I need to stay a little bit longer. This is common now, like constant killing, assassinations.
Oh yes, it's. I would say before lunch, I probably have had maybe 2 assassination attempts. Many of my guards have fortunately been able to stop them. There was one time when a dart did manage to hit me, and I ended up very woozy and out of it for the rest of the evening. Fortunately, I had the antidote prepared. But it's become... I won't lie to you, Kenna. It's been quite a nuisance.
I can only imagine.
Do me a favor, she says. If you ever see Tyrion, could you perhaps extend my grievances to him?
Well, let him know if I happen to run into him. Well, first of all, real quick, I do know a pretty good poisons expert that you can get in contact with that probably has a lot of expertise. I'll give you his contact information. Just a lot of antidotes to have on hand.
Are you talking about the Guardian of Earth?
Yeah.
I didn't... Out of character, has Theoben ever gone to Deventer? I don't know if he would ever have any reason to go to Deventer, right?
Theoben's dad is part of the Ambassadoria, which is the lyrium trade market between Orzammar and Tevinter.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a yes then?
Yeah, I think so.
Perhaps that is a wise thing. But I'm telling you, Kenna, it's just been so much harder trying to abolish slavery in a state when things are in this state.
Sure, but I think all the assassination attempts, as terrible and nuanced as they are, just sort of proves that you're doing the right thing and you're making an impact and people are listening and paying attention. And sure, they don't like what you're doing, but you're doing good, Calpurnia. I mean, damn, it's not easy.
I don't know. I appreciate you saying that, but my approval rating has taken quite a dip ever since the incident, the Amer and Forfax incident. As much as I'm sure you enjoyed and will miss having dinner with him.
What a loss for me. I do wonder, though, that approval rating, is that including the slaves who were uprising or just the magisters?
The magisters.
Oh, well.
We don't...
You kind of wonder, maybe if you include everyone, I wonder where the balance would lie, because I feel like maybe there's sort of an out of balance ratio there.
Once they achieve their citizenship, then yes, they would be included in such surveys. But for the time being, I can only work within the confines of what the law allows. Until we can change the law, which is what I'm trying to do.
Best case scenario, Calpurnia. What kind of Tevinter do you see? What do you want?
What I want is I just want to see all of the people of Tevinter to be proud of their country and to contribute fairly. I feel that the slaves have been carrying this burden and carrying the city forward without any credit, any real credit, even in the form of payment. And I think that's what's been holding us back all this time, is that we fail to recognize them as citizens. Therefore, they probably hate, rightfully so, our land and the people in it, and have no loyalty to this land, which is exactly why these riots are happening. That's what I am trying to fix.
Then keep doing it. And if I have to stay by your side until it's done, then I'll move here if I need to, because that's an incredible goal. And I think you should keep going for it. And I think there were certain ways that would probably be easier for you to go about this if Tyrion hadn't done what Tyrion did. But Tyrion did do it, and it's done. And it's forced a lot of hands, and change is happening regardless of what everyone else is around thinks. And I believe in you. And I think if you keep pushing forward, you're going to get the Tevinter you want.
I appreciate you saying those words, Kenna, and I thank you so much for supporting me when not many, but at best, most of the other Guardians see us indifferently. I am not an idiot. I am aware that most of the rest of the world hates us. Most of the rest of the world dislikes Tevinter, and I think before we can get the world to start loving us, or at least tolerating us, then I need to start internally within my own people to start getting along with amongst ourselves internally first. Because we can't expect the rest of the world to do so if we have this mess amongst ourselves.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think the change has to happen here before you can change anyone else's opinions. Well, it's going to take a lot of time.
I will take you up on that offer, Kenna. If you wish to stay here by my side until we can settle things down, I will greatly appreciate it. And as she says that, that's when that's when the message from Theobin drops in to say that there's this big emergency. You need to come now. You gotta drop what you're doing, leave, and come now.
One other thing, Calpurnia. I really need to go. Something big is happening. I'd like to introduce you to my child, because I think Tevinter might be a great place for us to live for a while they sort of grow up. away from other places that might sort of judge them for who they are. I'll explain more later, but what do you think? Do you feel like having a little rugrat around here?
Your family is definitely always welcome here. I'm sure we must be able to get you some lodgings in a state. I can't promise it's going to be as large as the Guardians of Water and Earth, though. But what we lack in size, we do make up for in grandeur.
Great. To be continued. I need to go. Eat it, Cedric. You're not touching my kid.
You can have a mayor's estate. There we go. I heard there's an opening.
If everything's sort of quiet down, there's Terrence just sort of looking around. He looks at the Guardians.
Ken is like,
I'm getting the cast here. Oh no.
Go ahead, Kenna, or whatever you want to say.
I'll sort of walk over and I'll dig into my bag and I'll pull out the scroll. You need to have words with the person who drew your face.
Well, they probably saw me like that at night. At least they didn't see me as a dragon, so... this doesn't have to be just between us. The Guardians can be here. I know what I did. I'm not gonna hide it. I can't.
Oh, they're notorious for eavesdropping. I'm sure they're right here.
I told him to do it.
That is rude. We were only just started eavesdropping.
They're like behind a rock.
It's... I know what I did. There's no point in hiding, guys. I was going to take care of it somehow, but I'd rather have the opinion of the Guardians first before I storm in like an idiot.
Okay.
Yes, I did it. If that's the first question I ask, I can't deny it. I have blood on my hands. I did it out of, well, it's not what my mind would have wanted, but it meant a lot to me.
Did it help? Last time I saw you, you were a mess when we talked about it, and you were deliberating if that was even something you wanted, because you were a healer, a helper, and now murderer.
Well, killing the man who pretty much ruined my life. After that, I'd say, if you ask most of the group, I was in a perpetual state of, well, going crazy and deciding that I would rather go back and, well, probably be killed off by someone, knowing what I did. After, well, shall we say a couple of days, eventually I made peace with it. I'm not proud of it, but he had to go. I would have preferred he didn't, but...
And that was your choice to make, to kill him, to murder someone. Because we literally just judged another person who murdered 2 people.
I know. The only reason I can give is what the past and what he has done to me, and that's it. Nothing more, nothing else. That is the evidence I have, and not justification. Not into Winterlands. I am not saying what I am is a good person. What I did is as heinous as anyone did. But any slave in my position, some would have done the same. My only wish is to somehow reprimand what I did, but it's going to be impossible. I imagine that as much.
I get that you had reasons that you explained to me, and I understand where you came from, and I'm not here to judge you for what you did. That was your choice, your act to commit, and your burden to bear. But there are ramifications to what you've done that have affected a whole country.
Yes. I know the stories.
Aye. And now you're a god of, or saint, or whatever it is you're calling yourselves.
I am, well, as my title, it's turned the free. God of freedom, healers, and perseverance. It's a very tough, well, shall we say, problematic position, being someone who just who murdered a magister and now is a god. However, though, I cannot offer a solution. I do not know what, but what I would have done if I would not have sought your counsel was go to the Winter and let them trial me as the man who committed the murder. Plain simple as that, and give my reasoning of what I did, why I did it. I don't know if it will help. I don't even know if this is the best option, to be honest. I can't be sure. I don't know the laws of the Winter that much.
I'm probably the worst person to ask about it.
I
Honestly,
imagine.
he was a foul man. I'm not going to lie. And I had only a tip of the iceberg of the experience you did, and that was very pleasant compared to what you experienced.
Outside of my own personal condition, there was another reason why it was provoked. My father.
Your father?
He's also a slave. Well, slave not just as a physicality, but also in emotions. He has been tranquiled. And the way that Amaran said it, let's say, sounded like he had a trophy. The exact words, if he brought him back, I should be more grateful to him that he's around. Now,
I remember you telling me about this guy in the Deep Roads. How did it feel? How did it feel when you killed him?
Free from the pain, the torture, free from his words. I'm biased on it, of course. It's not necessarily. It's not pleasure. It's just freedom from the man who made me suffer. 19 years I spent under his watchful gaze. All because I was born into it.
How do you feel now? Some time has passed.
Well, if I didn't had, I guess, pep talks, the best way to say it, I would have probably been devastated, broken, and to a certain degree blame my, well, naivety. Now I believe I did, at least personally for me, I did the only thing I could have done. It didn't help the entire place of Tevinter, it only helped me. That is why I want to at least reprimand something. I can't simply let this go. I did this, I started it all.
I mean, Kenna has more ties to Tevinter than I do, and I'm not going to speak for the rest of my guardians, but we already tried a man today who caused some death, and the answer was that reparation comes from trying to do good, trying to be better.
I don't ask for all of your counsel. I don't ask to be judged. I ask only suggestions or ideas. I'm a god now. I can help people as much as I can, but there are many people who can follow me, I guess. But I need to help the Winter. That's my priority at the moment, at least one of them.
Then I would suggest that you go to Tevinter and that you make sure that I would suggest
disagrees.
Kevin, yes.
You go to Tevinter and you be a god of freedom and you speak of a place where they do not take their freedom with violence, and that they find another way. And you stand by Calpurnia's side because she wants the same things: a peaceful amends, a place of pride, and bringing honor back to Devinter on both sides. And I think that if you both talk to each other, you guys could make something. Devinter used to be, from what I've heard, that it used to be a place of beauty and glory and so much history and culture. And I think if you guys could work together, you could bring a sort of...
Then, Lady Kenna, if I can ask.
Yes.
Would it be possible then for a private meeting between me and Calpurnia? You can be there also. A meeting between me and her.
I mean, technically you're a god, so you can do whatever you want.
I know, but
I can definitely arrange that for you as my personal friend and her personal friend.
Thank you. Yes, at least let her know. I don't want to just pop in front of her and just say, "Hello, I am here. I'm the man who just caused chaos to your entire city and brought turmoil now." I'm getting stabbed now.
No, I think we can definitely arrange something private for you to discuss and work out. I think you should be ready that the Magisters will also have words, because one of their own did die.
That I know.
I think if the will is there and the want, I think you two can overcome it and do good.
I just hope if I can be of assistance to her, I don't know, being by her side means that she accepts the murder.
She is a lovely woman.
I mean, I know, but it's more on... If you have someone who just murdered a Magister being someone who's there next to you, I don't know. At least the people, they see it as we accept this. I accept this person who just killed a Magister. But we can, if she is willing, of course. I'm a god of freedom. I only go by choice. If she is willing to, we can speak, and I will do whatever service is required to Devinter to at least repair the damage. I have done the damage, but that I repair it.
Tyrion, you're not the only one with blood on their hands. The Magisters have atrocious acts as well. There's blood on both sides. And I think forgiveness has to come from both to move forward. And I think that's what you're saying is what you want, and I hope. But I'll be there. I have my own reasons for being a Devinter, but I'd like to see this new Devinter through.
He nods and he'll sort of think for a bit, and then he says, and then what he does is he bows, and knee bow, not a normal bow, just a full on, goes on one leg, he bows, and he stands up again. I thank you for the suggestion. I'm thankful for the counsel you've given me, to all the Guardians also, and to all the people who helped me up to this point.
You are welcome, my child.
I mean,
she smiles when she says that, like it's an obvious joke.
Don't sweat it.
I am 20. I did deliver your child, so
perfectly normal, non-magical, vegan child.
Beautiful child.
No, we don't want another Brandon situation right now. So
I'm glad he didn't ask. I'm glad he asked Kenna, not Andrea, because she'd be like, just kill them all. Kill them all. It's
kill
fine.
Kill them all. Yeah, no.
There's less of them than there are of you. Just take care of the problem.
You're there. You didn't say anything, so yeah.
Should I face trial? No. Why would you? Fuck that.
Good. I mean, if he killed
got
you,
what he deserved.
If he killed
just
you,
wiped
would he have faced
Devinter
trial?
off the map and refound it as something else.
There we go.
The Aventur, risen from the blood of humans with the elves.
Hey, Cedric. Long time no see, and we have a few things to discuss with you, namely some blood magic. So, haha.
Oh yeah. No, this is not gonna go.
All
well.
right.
It's a good thing you didn't become the god of tact, Leon.
Yeah,
he would have failed. He would have failed that level. Ugh.
I thought, Cedric's very straightforward. It'd be best to just rip the band-aid off than to,
Just
You have found a den of blood mages. I can have them cleared out by tomorrow.
Well, okay, I'll just say it. One of my divine domains is blood. So, I'm a blood mage. Haha.
The collaborative face palm was
me and Russo.
Yeah.
No, I'm just like, well, you've sown you reap what you sow.
Yeah.
This child.
He'll look to the other two. What are they?
Tearing his face palm.
Russo just kind of like, I wish he'd said it more nuancedly, but gives a look like, yeah.
He ain't. He is not lying. He is.
But that does give us a unique opportunity to, well, control blood magic within the Thetis. Since it is my divine domain, I can, track down blood magic and try to contain or control the more violent tendencies.
Where did you say your ascension was?
The Golden City.
And you touched or sat in the throne?
Yes, but there's a lot of buildup that goes with it. You can't just sit on the throne and ascend.
But nonetheless, you went there and did that.
Yes.
How long have you been practicing?
A while.
Do you want the honest answer, Sir Ashwood?
Honestly, I just want to know if it was before he ascended.
He was pretty much practicing before he even met us.
Yes. Unfortunately.
I understand. Well, to be honest, I despise you and everything you stand for the moment you started. But as a Maleficarum, you stepped into the Golden City and you touched the Maker's throne, and the Maker blessed you, a Maleficarum.